Aren't you just so tired of neighborhood tyrants thinking they own the very dirt we walk on? I mean, it literally takes a special kind of delusion to enforce city codes while wearing Richard's salmon-colored shorts. But I guess documenting these petty, absurd HOA wars is exactly why sovereign justice exists in the first place. Anyway, let's just dive right into this mess. Have you ever had a man wearing salmon-colored shorts and a visor tell you your own concrete is illegal? Because I have. And let me tell you, it is a uniquely infuriating experience right up there with wet socks and stepping on a stray Lego in the dark. I live in Queen Anne, Seattle. If you've never been to Queen Anne, picture a neighborhood designed by a sadistic roller coaster engineer. The hills here aren't just steep. They defy gravity logic and the structural integrity of most sedans. My house, a modest mid-century thing that I dumped my life savings into, sits perched on one of these vertical absurdities. And attached to this house is a driveway. Calling it a driveway is generous. It's a concrete launch pad. It was poured sometime in 1952, back when cars were made of solid steel and men drank lead paint for breakfast. It has a 25% grade. Every time I park my car, I have to engage the emergency brake, turn the wheels toward the curb, and say a brief prayer to the gods of friction. But it's my driveway. It's been there for over 70 years. It hurts to look at. It burns my calves to walk up, but it works. Until Richard decided it didn't. Richard is the president of the local homeowners association. Richard is also the kind of guy who measures his neighbor's grass with a literal ruler and files complaints if your garbage cans are out 4 minutes past the designated retrieval window. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I was standing on my porch enjoying a rare sliver of Seattle sunlight when I saw him marching up the sidewalk. He had his signature clipboard pressed against his chest like a bulletproof vest. He stopped at the base of my driveway, squinted up at me, and began his ascent. He made it about 3 steps before his smooth-soled boat shoes betrayed him. "Careful, Richard," I called out, taking a sip of my coffee. "It's a bit of an incline. You might want to zigzag." He glared at me, his face already flushing to match his shorts. He planted his feet wide, trying to establish dominance while fighting a losing battle against gravity. "I am perfectly fine," he huffed, though he was visibly sliding backward a quarter inch at a time. "I am here on official HOA business." "Fascinating," I said, leaning against the railing. "Did someone paint their front door a non-approved shade of eggshell again?" "This isn't a joke," Richard snapped, finally abandoning the climb and waving a piece of paper from the safety of the municipal sidewalk. "The city recently updated its zoning ordinances regarding vehicular hazards, and our HOA bylaws state that all properties must be in strict compliance with current city codes. Your driveway is illegal." I stared at him. "My driveway has been here since the Truman administration." "Richard, grandfather clauses only apply until a hazard is officially recognized by the board," he said smoothly, a smug little smile playing on his lips. "Seattle Municipal Code dictates that no residential driveway shall exceed a 20% grade. You are at 25. It is a vehicular hazard, a danger to the neighborhood." "A danger to who?" I laughed. "You. You can't even walk up it. No car is accidentally wandering onto my property." "Be that as it may," Richard said, puffing out his chest. "You are in violation. I am officially serving you notice." He stepped forward, clearly intending to hand me the paper. He took one step onto the concrete, slipped again, caught himself, and opted instead to aggressively tape the bright yellow violation notice to my mailbox post. "You have 30 days to regrade this driveway to a compliant angle," Richard announced, adjusting his visor, "or abandon it entirely and restore the landscaping. If you fail to comply, the HOA will levy a fine of $500 per day. If the fines exceed $10,000, we will place a lien on your property and seize it." He turned on his heel, nearly twisting an ankle in the process, and marched away. I walked down, ripped the yellow paper off the mailbox, and read it. $500 a day for concrete. I didn't pour on a hill I didn't build. Regrading this thing would mean carving into the bedrock of the hillside. It would require heavy machinery, retaining walls, and a small army of engineers. I pulled out my phone, did a quick search, and almost choked. 40 grand minimum. $40,000 to fix a driveway that wasn't broken just to satisfy a man in salmon shorts. I didn't have 40 grand. What I did have, however, was a deep, burning, spiteful hatred for bureaucratic bullying. I went inside, grabbed a beer, and dialed the only man I knew crazy enough to look at this problem and not immediately hang up on me. Mike arrived the next morning at 7 a.m. sharp. His truck sounded like a blender full of rocks. Mike was a local contractor who had been fighting the city's permit office for 3 decades. He subsisted entirely on black coffee, gas station hot dogs, and pure concentrated rage. He slammed his truck door, walked over to the base of my driveway, and spat on the ground. "Look at this monstrosity," Mike grumbled, scratching his gray beard. "They poured this right over the topsoil, didn't they? Oh, idiots." "Good morning to you too, Mike," I said, walking down to meet him. "I need you to regrade it." Mike looked at me like I had just asked him to build a spaceship out of toothpicks. He pulled a squished hot dog wrapped in foil out of his jacket pocket, took a massive bite, and chewed slowly. "Regrade it," he repeated, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "But you want me to regrade a 25% slope on a 30-foot run, so that's what the HOA says I have to do." Mike swallowed and pointed a greasy finger at the house. "Kid, look at the math. To get this down to a legal 20%, I gotta lower the top of the driveway by at least 4 feet. Your garage is right there. If I lower the driveway 4 feet, you'll be parking in your basement, which means I gotta demolish the garage, underpin the foundation of your living room. Must build 3 retaining walls and probably sacrifice a goat to the city planner." "So what's the quote?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "50 grand, Mike said flatly. "And I don't even want the job. It's a nightmare. Tell your HOA to go pound sand. If I don't fix it, they fine me $500 a day until they steal my house." Mike stopped chewing. He looked at the driveway, then down the street toward Richard's immaculately manicured lawn. A slow and malicious grin spread across his weathered face. "Ah, one of those. I hate those guys. Tell you what, let's go look at the rule book." We spent the next 4 hours sitting at my kitchen table surrounded by empty coffee mugs, printed copies of the Seattle Municipal Code, and the HOA's bloated 100-page bylaw document. I was looking for a way out. A grandfather clause, an exemption, anything. Here I said, tapping a paragraph on page 42 of the zoning code. Seattle Municipal Code 23.44.016 on parking location and access. It strictly regulates the grade of vehicular access. "Yeah," and Mike grunted, "look at the section on pedestrian hardscaping." I said, my heart beating a little faster. "Stairs, terrace pathways, retaining walls meant for foot traffic. There is no maximum grade for stairs, Mike. Only riser height and dual tread depth. If it's for feet, the city doesn't care how steep the hill is as long as it has a handrail." Mike leaned back in his chair, his eyes narrowing. "You want to tear up a driveway and build a staircase? Where are you going to park?" "I don't care," I said, adrenaline kicking in. "The HOA says the driveway is an illegal vehicular hazard. Fine, they win. I'll abandon it. I'll rip up the concrete, but I'm not planting grass for them. I'm building stairs. A massive, glorious set of stairs." Mike chuckled, a low, gravelly sound. "Okay, let's play devil's advocate. We build stairs. The HOA sees you being a smartass. They cite you for an unapproved aesthetic modification and force you to tear the stairs down anyway. Bylaws say they have final say on all exterior hardscaping." He was right. Richard would never let a spite staircase stand. He'd just pivot from the city code to his own HOA aesthetic guidelines and bleed me dry with fines anyway. We needed an unassailable shield, something that trumped the HOA, something that made Richard's little clipboard look like a toy. I opened my laptop. "What trumps an HOA, God?" Mike suggested. "Federal law," I muttered, typing furiously. I had read an article months ago about a guy in California who painted his house neon pink, and when the city tried to paint over it, he sued them using some obscure federal art protection law. "Got it," I whispered, the blue light of the screen reflecting in my eyes. "The Visual Artists' Rights Act of 1995 ARA. Never heard of it," Mike said. "It's a federal copyright law," I explained, reading rapidly. "It protects works of visual art, of recognized stature, from intentional distortion, mutilation, or modification. If an artist creates a permanent site-specific sculpture or installation on your property and someone destroys it or forces you to remove it without the artist's permission, it's a federal offense. The artist can sue for statutory damages up to $150,000 per violation." Mike was completely silent. He set his coffee mug down very carefully. You're telling me, he asked incredulously. I'm telling you that we aren't just building stairs, Mike. We are commissioning a site-specific public art installation.